Continuing, in the 22nd letter, the Alter Rebbe comes to explain to us, why would it be that people should seek out a sage, a Torah scholar, a tzaddik, a righteous individual, to get guidance in mundane, material, physical well-being? So he says, the reason for that is, as he says, the truth is, that love upsets the nature and the order of one's conduct and covers over the person's eyes that prevents them from seeing the truth. And what's the truth? The truth is, because we have love of our body. What does love for our body mean? Even though we will use material things in our lives, physical things, and our body, to use it to serve God, that's true. However, when our physical being goes under some suffering, we are upset about that. We're upset. We're not able to bear it when it's very difficult. And what do? We go and seek advice. How can I alleviate the pain and the suffering that I'm going to? So the Alter Rebbe says, well, maybe the question should be, is why is God causing this suffering? Rather than seek out advice from Torah sages and righteous people that should minimize the suffering, says, well, why is this happening? So rather than go to, and perhaps this is, the main point over here, rather than going to the Torah sage, to the Rebbe, to alleviate the pain and the suffering that a person's going to, go to God, turn to Him with a humble spirit and a submission. In other words, accept that God is chastising you, but out of love for you. As the verse says in Mishlei, King Solomon says, for it is him who God loves that he chastises. So he gives a metaphor for this, that a compassionate, wise, and righteous father who is punishing to his son. Now, it's a metaphor, remember. Surely the wise son would not turn his back to try to escape the punishment from his father, who is compassionate, wise, and righteous, okay, as opposed to maybe otherwise. Right? Remember, it's a metaphor, so it's not something that. So the wise son shouldn't try to escape the punishment from the father, or try to find an intercessor to try to alleviate the pain and the suffering. Rather, what should a wise son do? Look straight in the face of the father, who the father is doing this out of love and kindness, and to bear the punishment, because it will bring lifelong benefits. That's the metaphor. So likewise, in the divine realm, the concept of face means God's willingness as our Father in heaven to bestow upon his children, from his inner desire and willingness to do good for us, even though this might be painful. Even though this might be painful. Even though this might be painful. And therefore, since this is coming from his inner will, out of his love, so therefore we should be accepting. As opposed to, the Alter Rebbe says, heathens, they won't, because they're only seeking what they can get that is pleasurable, rather than the connection with God. That this is his inner will that he is seeking to give. So one shouldn't turn their back, shouldn't try to find an intercessor. So what does this mean? How do we unpack this? So the Alter Rebbe is telling that everything that happens to us is coming from God. And we should recognize that and try to connect it to God. So when good comes to you, of course, don't look at yourself and how great you are and all the good that's coming to you. When negativity is coming to you, something that's painful is coming to you, recognize it's coming from God, and the only reason it's coming is out of an inner desire and a lovingness that he wants to bring you closer. And therefore, accept it. Accept it and use it as a means to actually get closer. So don't go to the righteous person to try to alleviate it. Even though that's what we always do. And still